So if you want to, at the beginning, start talking about the impeachment hearings, I guess it's the biggest news story.
Well, it is, but it's so fucking monotonous. It's a procession of State Department bureaucrats butthurt that Trump didn't listen to them, or that Trump is like not carrying out the policies they want. And man, it's a scary thing where it's like Trump is going against our consensus. And like, in other words, they're kind of admitting that the president doesn't set foreign policy. It's these bureaucrats that have been setting the policy, and the president.
No, they say he has a shadow foreign policy.
Yeah, right. How can the president have a shadow foreign policy? It's his foreign policy. It's his, and they're. I mean, at the end of the day, ambassadors and bureaucrats, they're pretty much the maids. They're pretty much the handmaidens. They just carry out the president's policies. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not their responsibility to carry out a policy. If Trump decides, we're withdrawing from NATO, for example, that's something that's his prerogative as a president. If you don't like it, there's remedies. Remedy number one is to remove him from office. I'm just going through this. Like, if you don't like his policy, you resign. These resignations might initiate some sort of impeachment because the Congress wants the United States to be in NATO.
If your boss is an asshole and he's making your life a living hell and he's not doing anything illegal like Trump isn't doing, then probably your best choice is to quit. Like, let's say you have a new boss, somebody different takes over the company, is a complete asshole. But he's not doing anything illegal or anything. He's just an asshole and you hate your job now. Well, you should probably quit if it's that bad, or you suck it up.
Man, every president since George Washington has been an asshole, like George Washington had people executed when he was a general.
Well, he did some famous attack on like Christmas Eve or whatever.
Yeah, well, listen, and I'm a fan of George Washington, but there was a.
I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying you could point to that and say, well, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, there was the Whiskey Rebellion where when George Washington did a Trump move and he led an army that was considered sort of the most outrageous act that George Washington did, and it was an unpopular thing, where he was kind of condemned for it, but he was the president and you have to follow his orders. He led an army into Pennsylvania. I think it was in Pennsylvania, to quell a whiskey rebellion because they didn't want to pay taxes, alcohol tax on whiskey and whatnot. You don't say to the president, I disagree. My uncle sells whiskey. I'm gonna sabotage you. You carry out his orders. As a soldier, as a diplomat, you have to carry out the president's wishes. The president also has the right. It happened under JFK during the Cuban Missile Crisis to have advisors and a parallel team of diplomats. I keep saying the word diplomats, but the ministers without portfolio. If you were in Europe, that's what you would be called, a minister without portfolio. Everyone serves at the president's behest. He has a right to take advice from people who are not in government. He has a right to take advice from people in government, and at his leisure, at his whim. And all I'm seeing is all these people who are not witnesses to anything that Trump did. They're not into this. They're non-witnesses. What they are pretty much, if you had a business, it's sort of like a.
They're all just gossiping with each other. They don't have any first-hand information about anything.
Yeah,
I think the newest one, Yovanovitch, she was like fired before the phone call even happened. She didn't know anything about it.
Well, it's sort of like
and she still works for the State Department, taking taxpayers' money too.
Yeah, to me it sounds like gripes from Human Resources. Hey, Elron, thanks for joining us. I have a cold, so bear with me if I start coughing.
Oh, I thought you said you had a code, like promo code Swarthy Freak.
I'm actually recovering from a cold. I'm kind of congested.
All right. I hope your guest didn't catch your cold.
You know, well, I hope he does and dies from it. But what we were saying before, I don't know when you walked in. It's like all these Trump witnesses for the Ukraine, in the impeachment hearing, they all sound like human resource gripes. The boss was mean to me. I'm gonna file a complaint with human resources. Here's my turn. Here's my chance to get this shit off my chest. And from a liberal perspective, it's very weird. They could have impeached Trump legitimately. Not legitimately. That's not the right word, but they could have had all these reasons to impeach Trump from a left-wing, non-neocon, non-right-wing perspective. I can give you an example, even though I think Trump is in the right. Trump used money that was allocated for something else, using the powers that he has, the executive powers that he has. He's using those funds to build the wall. Congress is supposed to authorize funding. I'm throwing the Democrats and Democrats.
They could make that argument, but he has the right to defend the borders, though.
I totally agree. I'm just giving you a left-wing reason.
I think he should just send the military there, take them all out of the Middle East, and put them all on the border.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm totally with you on that. But I'm just giving you an example of what a liberal Democrat I thought would find offensive and as a reason to impeach Trump. Building the wall, right, with funds that he was not voted for direct building of the wall. But they decide to impeach Trump for like neocon right-wing reasons. Trump was not belligerent enough in the Ukraine, even though he's the one who actually sold arms to the Ukraine. Obama sent them blankets. Trump actually sent them military arms. But the Democrats are not pretending that wasn't good enough. He should have sent it to them faster.
Well, Yovanovitch lied under oath because she said that she never heard of the concerns about Biden and Hunter Biden and Burisma, I think it's called. Well, and then it turns out that she was briefed on it before she was hired.
Well, who's gonna hold her into account? I'm gonna. Lying to Congress, only Republicans get arrested for that shit.
Yeah.
If you lie to Congress, Democrats can lie to Congress up the wazoo and nobody cares. Actually, I shouldn't even say Democrats, just say anti-Trumpers. As long as you're pushing the narrative for the Democrats, they'll give you a pass on anything. The thing that the Democrats are trying to do, and I hope Republicans understand it. I think they do. I think the base does. But I don't trust the GOP establishment. They want, because the only way you can impeach Trump is you need to have defections from the Republican senator ranks. So they're using stuff that, let's face it, you and I have to admit, the Republicans have not Trump, the establishment, they have a weak spot for the military-industrial complex, right? They have a weak spot for Cold War.
They need a more plausible reason to vote to remove him than this, because it's career suicide. Unless, if they're already never Trumpers and they're making it work for them, okay. But the rest of them, they're going to be voted out of office.
Look, you and I know that. What the Democrats
I don't trust them either, but I trust them to look out for themselves.
Yes, exactly. What the Democrats are trying to do is they're trying to make it as painful as possible for these never Trumper GOP deep staters. And there's, Lindsey Graham is one of them, but he's sticking strong with Trump because he's from a state where Trump is popular. Romney is one of these. Rubio is one of these. These are Republicans.
Well, there's not a lot of them. Jackass. He just took that endorsement and got elected with it, and then he revealed his true colors. I don't think he's going to be reelected. It's ridiculous.
Like I said, you know what?
He should have, if he had any principles. Let's say he was always a never Trumper. He should have just, like what if Trump endorsed McCain or something when he was alive? I don't think he'd like that. He should have said no, thank you. I don't want your endorsement. If he's a never Trumper.
This Utah thing is weird because Glenn Beck was anti-Trump, Romney was anti-Trump, Orrin Hatch was not anti-Trump, and he's Mormon. And it looks to me, because Orrin Hatch did not want to resign. He did not resign, but he did not want to retire. And it looks to me that they forced him to retire, like so
He's like
Romney could
1,000
run.
years old.
Well, you know, he didn't. So what? He didn't want to. It looks like he did not want to retire, and it looks like Romney's. You know, Romney was a bishop in the Mormon Church. He's a big muckety muck in the Mormon Church.
Maybe he can get reelected. I don't know. I don't think his constituents are really anti-Trump, though.
Well, Orrin Hatch was going to stick around, and it looks like Romney wanted to be in the Senate, and I think he wanted to be in the Senate to sabotage Trump, is what I'm saying. So he had Orrin Hatch.
He's a McCain replacement.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think impeachment is going to go anywhere, because I think the Democrats have a two-part plan.
Jeff Flake's not in office anymore either. Right?
No.
Hey, that guy's ridiculous.
He's out. Well, you know,
like the Republican Beto. Like nobody likes him.
I think a lot of people think that the Democrats are there to get rid of Trump. In other words, the impeachment's there to get Trump removed. But that's not the point of the impeachment at all. The impeachment is to smear Trump, but
only the Democrats eat it up and the never Trumpers. But we already know that. I mean, we'll find out how popular Trump is in the election.
Well, their hope is that this hurts Trump in the suburbs. And everything I read says that Trump is not strong in the suburbs. I don't know where people get that notion from.
He's 90-something% approval with the GOP.
Yeah. So, I don't know where, these polls are bullshit, But,
no, it's to see whether Trump supporters, whether his base is stronger or the Democrat base is stronger. And yeah, there's some swing voters. The Democrats shit on the swing voters all the time too and alienate them by being wackos. The swing voters, every time you see a poll, the swing voters, they're in between, but they're closer to the Republicans.
Again, we're talking about impeachment, but as you can tell, there's thin drool there. We're outraged at the impeachment. There's nothing there. I think Democrats are letting it slip. The Democrats are so desperate that Trump tweeted out that
they were planning. They had like a timeline to impeach him, and they, at the last minute, they're like, let's use this Ukraine shit. It's like they didn't have anything. It's even dumber than Russiagate.
Well,
we have Joe Biden admitting to threatening to withhold aid from Ukraine on video, and then they did a focus test group about that we're going to change it to bribery now, even though it doesn't even make any sense.
Well, it's so thin gruel that
it's not even a synonym for quid pro quo, because they're like, people don't know what that means. Well, it doesn't mean bribery. Quid pro quo isn't even necessarily illegal, by the way. So that's probably why they changed it to bribery.
Well, you pointed out why it's such thin gruel. The Democrats had to. Actually, this is even evidence of why these charges should be thrown out. If you're going in front of a marketing panel to figure out the best terminology for impeachment, that tells you that it's not a real case.
The charges. It's not even the terminology. It's like what charges are we going to focus test that. That's like when I heard that the next Star Wars movie that they're like testing out 8 different endings. So I think they should just make it like a choose your own adventure thing. That would be direct to video.